comparing and contrasting the philosophies of Arthur Schopenhauer, Owen Barfield, and Friedrich Nietzsche. Part 1. Philosophical Foundations. Introduction. In the early 19th century, philosophy was undergoing significant transformations, with thinkers exploring new ways to understand reality, consciousness, and human experience. Among these philosophers were Arthur Schopenhauer, Owen Barfield, and Friedrich Nietzsche, whose ideas, though distinct, offer profound insights into the nature of existence and perception. This essay will compare and contrast Schopenhauer's, Barfield's, and Nietzsche's philosophies, including their views on free will and determinism, and relate them to modern thought, particularly the simulation hypothesis popularized by Elon Musk. Additionally, we will explore how these philosophical ideas influenced Albert Einstein and Alan Watts. Section 1. Arthur Schopenhauer. Background. Arthur Schopenhauer, 1788 to 1860, was a German philosopher known for his pessimistic worldview and his influential work, The World as Will and Representation. He was heavily influenced by Immanuel Kant and the Eastern philosophies of Hinduism and Buddhism. Key concept: the will. Schopenhauer posited that the fundamental reality is an irrational, blind force he called the will. This will drives all actions and desires, leading to a constant state of striving and suffering. Representation. According to Schopenhauer, what we perceive is not the world itself but our mental representation of it. This idea was influenced by Kant's distinction between the noumenal, things in themselves, and the phenomenal, things as they appear to us, worlds. Pessimism. Schopenhauer's philosophy is marked by a deep pessimism. He believed that life is filled with suffering and that the will's insatiable nature ensures that satisfaction is always temporary and fleeting. Aesthetics. Schopenhauer saw art, particularly music, as a way to escape the suffering caused by the will. Through aesthetic contemplation, individuals can achieve a state of pure, will-less perception, providing temporary relief from the constant striving. Free will and determinism. Schopenhauer believed that while humans feel they have free will, their actions are actually determined by their character and external influences. He famously stated, "Man can do what he wills but he cannot will what he wills," indicating a form of compatibilism, where free will is constrained by determinism. Section 2. Owen Barfield. Background. Owen Barfield, 1898 to 1997, was a British philosopher, author, and member of the Inklings, a literary group that included C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien. Barfield's work focused on the evolution of consciousness and the role of language in shaping human experience. Key concept: evolution of consciousness. Barfield proposed that human consciousness has evolved over time, moving from a state of original participation, where humans experienced the world as deeply interconnected and meaningful, to a more detached and analytical modern consciousness. Representation. Barfield argued that our perception of reality is shaped by language and consciousness. He believed that words and concepts influence how we experience the world, and that this relationship has changed throughout history. Anthroposophy. Barfield was influenced by Rudolf Steiner's anthroposophy, which emphasizes spiritual science and the development of human consciousness. This connection informed much of Barfield's thought on the evolution of consciousness. Influence on literature. Barfield's ideas had a significant impact on his fellow Inklings, particularly C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien. His work on language and meaning influenced their literary creations and philosophical reflections. Free will and determinism. Barfield believed in the potential for human freedom through the evolution of consciousness. He argued that as humans become more self-aware and conscious, they can achieve true freedom, moving beyond deterministic constraints. Section 3. Friedrich Nietzsche. Background. Friedrich Nietzsche, 1844 to 1900, was a German philosopher known for his critiques of traditional European morality and religion, his concept of the Übermensch, and his declaration that God is dead. Nietzsche's work spans philosophical polemics, poetry, cultural criticism, and fiction, displaying a fondness for aphorism and irony. Key concept: will to power. Nietzsche proposed that the fundamental driving force in humans is the will to power, a striving to reach the highest possible position in life. Perspectivism. Nietzsche argued that there are no absolute truths, only different perspectives shaped by individual experiences and context. Eternal return. The idea that the universe and all existence in energy has been recurring, and will continue to recur, in a self-similar form an infinite number of times. Master-slave morality. Nietzsche distinguished between master morality and slave morality, criticizing the latter as a morality of the weak who resent the strong. Übermensch. The concept of the Übermensch, Overman or Superman, represents an individual who has transcended the limitations of conventional morality to create their own values. Section 4. Comparison and contrast. Similarities. Representation. Schopenhauer, Barfield, and Nietzsche all discuss the concept of representation, though in different contexts. Schopenhauer focuses on the mental representation of the world, Barfield emphasizes the role of language and consciousness, and Nietzsche highlights the subjective nature of truth and perspective. Influence of Kant. All three philosophers were influenced by Kant's ideas, particularly the distinction between the noumenal and phenomenal worlds. Differences. The will versus evolution of consciousness versus will to power. Schopenhauer's philosophy centers on the will as the driving force behind existence, leading to suffering and striving. Barfield focuses on the evolution of human consciousness and the changing relationship between humans and their perception of reality. Nietzsche emphasizes the will to power as the fundamental driving force in humans. Pessimism versus optimism versus nihilism. Schopenhauer's outlook is deeply pessimistic, viewing life as inherently filled with suffering. Barfield offers a more optimistic perspective, suggesting that the evolution of consciousness holds the potential for greater understanding and meaning. Nietzsche's philosophy often grapples with nihilism, the rejection of all religious and moral principles, in the belief that life is meaningless, but also proposes the creation of new values through the Übermensch, free will and determinism. Schopenhauer's compatibilist view suggests that while we feel free, our actions are determined by our character and circumstances. Barfield believed in the potential for true freedom through the evolution of consciousness. Nietzsche, on the other hand, saw free will as an expression of the will to power, where individuals create their own values and meaning. Conclusion of Part 1. In Part 1, we have explored the philosophical foundations laid by Arthur Schopenhauer, Owen Barfield, and Friedrich Nietzsche. Each philosopher offers a unique perspective on reality, consciousness, and human experience, contributing to a rich tapestry of ideas that continue to influence modern thought. In Part 2, we will delve into modern philosophical thought, including the contributions of key modern philosophers, the simulation hypothesis popularized by Elon Musk, and the impact of these ideas on figures like Albert Einstein and Alan Watts. Let's move on to Part 2 when you're ready. If you have any adjustments or additional points for Part 1, let me know. Part 2. Modern philosophical thought and influences. Section 5. Modern philosophical thought. Introduction to modern philosophy. Modern philosophy encompasses a wide range of themes, including empiricism, rationalism, existentialism, and the implications of quantum mechanics. These ideas continue to challenge and expand our understanding of reality. Key modern philosophers. Daniel Dennett, known for his work on consciousness, free will, and the philosophy of mind. Dennett argues for a compatibilist view of free will, similar to Schopenhauer. He believes that free will can exist within a deterministic framework, emphasizing the importance of understanding how consciousness and decision-making processes work. David Chalmers focuses on the hard problem of consciousness and the nature of subjective experience. Chalmers' work aligns with Barfield's interest in the evolution of consciousness, exploring how physical processes in the brain give rise to the experience of being. Slavoj Žižek combines psychoanalysis, Marxism, and Hegelian philosophy to explore ideology and culture. Žižek's work reflects the complexity and interconnectedness of modern philosophical thought, often challenging conventional wisdom and exploring the contradictions within societal structures. Section 6. Elon Musk and the simulation hypothesis. Simulation hypothesis. Elon Musk has popularized the idea that we might be living in a computer simulation, suggesting there's a 1 in billions chance that we're in base reality. This hypothesis challenges traditional notions of reality and has implications for our understanding of free will and determinism. Impact on worldview. Perception of reality. If we are in a simulation, it raises questions about the nature of reality itself. What we perceive as physical laws and constants could be seen as programmed rules within the simulation. Existential questions. This belief can prompt deep existential questions about the purpose and meaning of life. Are our actions predetermined by the simulation's code? Or do we have free will within this framework? Ethical considerations. The simulation hypothesis might influence ethical and moral considerations. If our reality is simulated, does it change the value we place on experiences and relationships? Section 7. Albert Einstein. Theory of relativity. Einstein's theories of special and general relativity revolutionized our understanding of space, time, and gravity. His work challenged the Newtonian framework and introduced the concept that time and space are interconnected and relative. Influence of philosophy. Einstein was influenced by philosophical ideas, particularly those of David Hume and Ernst Mach. These influences helped shape his thinking about the nature of reality and the limits of scientific knowledge. Impact on modern thought. Einstein's ideas continue to influence modern physics and philosophy, particularly in discussions about the nature of reality and the universe. His work exemplifies how new ideas can emerge from the interplay of philosophical inquiry and scientific exploration. Section 8. Alan Watts. Philosophical contributions. Alan Watts was a British philosopher known for popularizing Eastern philosophy in the West. His work often explored the nature of reality, consciousness, and the interconnectedness of all things. Influence of Schopenhauer and Barfield. Watts was influenced by Schopenhauer's pessimism and Barfield's ideas about the evolution of consciousness. He integrated these influences into his own philosophical explorations, emphasizing the fluid and interconnected nature of reality. Section 9. Comparison to modern thought. Schopenhauer. Schopenhauer's ideas resonate with modern existentialist themes, particularly the exploration of suffering, meaning, and the human condition. His emphasis on the irrational aspects of existence parallels some contemporary discussions in psychology and philosophy. Barfield. Barfield's focus on the evolution of consciousness and the role of language aligns with current debates in cognitive science, linguistics, and philosophy of mind. His ideas about the interconnectedness of language and perception continue to influence modern thought. Nietzsche. Nietzsche's concepts of the will to power, perspectivism, and the Übermensch resonate with modern discussions about power dynamics, subjective truth, and the creation of personal values. His critique of traditional morality and exploration of nihilism continue to challenge and inspire contemporary thinkers. Conclusion. In comparing and contrasting the philosophies of Arthur Schopenhauer, Owen Barfield, and Friedrich Nietzsche, we see three distinct yet complementary approaches to understanding reality and human experience. Schopenhauer's focus on the will and representation offers a deeply pessimistic view of existence, while Barfield's exploration of the evolution of consciousness provides a more optimistic perspective. Nietzsche's emphasis on the will to power and the creation of personal values adds a dynamic and transformative element to the discussion. These philosophers' ideas remain relevant today, contributing to ongoing discussions in modern philosophy and science. The inclusion of Elon Musk's simulation hypothesis, along with the contributions of Albert Einstein and Alan Watts, adds a contemporary twist, challenging us to rethink our place in the universe and how we interact with the world around us.